Hello, this is an introduction to the project for spread or layout design. This is going to be a relatively short video that explains what the assignment more or less is going to be, and then I'll break it down into all the little parts. So first, a spread is two pages that face each other in a book or magazine. Simple as that. It is, these here. So this whole opened page is the spread. It's these two pages together. And when we design one, we'll want to be thinking about it as how they're going to work together as one singular layout. So what goes on a spread? Well, it depends. There's a lot of content, or sometimes there's a little bit of content. Usually, and for our purposes, it's a combination of graphics, text, and photographs. That's how we're going to embrace it. The purpose for this project is to, once again, lead into upper levels of digital courses. We've got photo projects that we've done that lead into photography. We've got graphic design projects that lead into visual communications, illustration ones that lead into digital design or digital illustration. And this one obviously quite directly leads into yearbook, and particularly the design branch of yearbook. So we're going to start in the same process that we would start with yearbook, is going through things and finding things that we like. For you, this may be easiest to do digitally. I just typed in spread design. You could type in layout. You could type in specific publications that you like. We're just looking for ideas. This is the same process that we did with logo design, the same process we did with typography. Looking for ideas, and we're going to collect these ideas. I'm not going to specify in this video how I'd like you to collect them, whether that be in Google Slides or on a singular Google Doc, but I do think you need to collect as many resources as possible, let's say a minimum of 20 different examples. Now, if you like the font of this, but you think the minimalistic layout doesn't really work, that's fine. You can still collect this and just maybe make a note that you like this headline font. Or if you like how they've incorporated text into the photo, make a note of that for here. But there's lots and lots and lots of different styles and ideas. And as we get started on this, you might need to know what our goal is as far as what we're going to be creating. Yes, it's a spread, but the theme or the angle of this spread is going to be centered around your experience in this class. This is it's like your final project. So it's kind of a reflection of everything that you've done in this class. And really, you're going to need all of the skills that you've learned in this class to complete the assignment. So after you've collected the things that you like, you're going to have to make some decisions. And those decisions are made initially in a style guide. So for yearbook, this is from a couple years ago, we bounced around with different ideas. We had an idea of the theme, but what the sort of text and shapes and designs look like, we tried different ideas. Where else can I show you? A new theme, I think that was... Here's a different direction that we went in. We kind of moved back and forth quite a bit, and we ended up refining it. But that was from a year or two ago. Let's look now at, some direction that we're moving forward with now. So this is instructions along with the style guide. Ultimately, we ended up creating rules. Things like all spreads need to have 25-point spaces between this upper bar and these spaces. The spaces in between photos must be 5 points across. Rules keep them unified and consistent from page to page throughout our publication. Now, the good news for us is we're only creating one spread, so we don't have to be quite as specific as we might have otherwise been, but we do have to make sure that there's consistency throughout that spread. So let's find the actual style guide that we are using for this year. So here it's got very specific rules. It says, for example, when writing a story, your headline should be Dido bold, size 45, all caps, subheadlines, ping fang HK, regular, very, very specific so that from spread to spread and from different piece of content to different piece of content within a spread, it stays consistent. Specific fonts that are used, specific criteria for any other design elements and shapes. So that's what needs to be on the design guide. Once you've made decisions about what headline font, you'll write that on here, a sub-headline font, the actual copy, so the text, and captions. You're going to have photos, and those photos need captions. So that's 4 potentially different fonts. They don't have to be totally different. For example, are all coverage devices, things that kind of are going to go up the top of the spread. That font is just a variation on the headline font, just changing in size. So they don't have to be 4 totally different fonts. In fact, they probably shouldn't be. You also, potentially 5th one here, you also need your folio font. Let's zoom in to see. So a folio is the page number, and often it also says what the page is about. So Avni's being moderately appropriate here. That font is going to be a number, and that may or may not be the same as the text. Also, decisions about color. Going back to here, these specific colors were chosen. These are the only colors we will be using throughout the book. I would suggest keeping a fairly limited palette for this singular spread as we look through here. Color is going to be a huge determining factor of your overall design of your spread. It might be a singular color, and I'm okay with that for this. Just know that that might be limiting. We have already looked at a project where we had to make decisions about selecting colors. Coolers was a great option, and if you wanted to pull maybe 2 or 3 from a singular color palette for that, that would be a great way to go, and you'll just write that code and maybe even show an example of the color that you're going to be using on your style guide. And finally, there needs to be some sort of graphic element. It doesn't need to be overly complicated. So this one I would say is fairly complicated, but establishing those sort of shapes and designs, here, that is a circle. That is okay. But it's often very subtly incorporated into the design. It could be incorporating into the text or even incorporating into the here we have the arrow incorporated into the text, but then we have text incorporated into the photograph, tying things together. Once you have a better idea of what you're going to be communicating, it might be easier to establish that, but I do want some ideas and direction. You can see just very much how many things we tried before we got there. The real goal is for us to have all the content and then all of the plan on how it's going to be put together, and then we're just almost dragging and dropping it onto the spread when we're ready to do that. So that is what I want you to know and be able to do for your style guide. Again, individual teachers might specify exactly how we want that formatted and submitted, but that is all the content that needs to go on there.